But if you believe, and many do, that the owner, he's the one that wanted Manziel. He's the one that did Deshaun Watson. He's the one that wanted Baker Mayfield. This is an ownership group that likes headlines at quarterbacks. Shedeur's a headline. Dylan Gabriel's not. I mean, look, we're paying attention to the Cleveland Browns.
I'll keep saying it. I believe Shedeur Sanders should play more games than any other quarterback on this roster this year, because he's the only guy that I look at and say, they might have something here, because I'm telling you right now.
How did a quarterback who slid to the 5th round suddenly become the center of NFL drama, a franchise's future, and the focus of a possible lawsuit? Just a few months ago, Shedeur Sanders was viewed as a decent prospect with a famous last name. But now, he's being fast-tracked to QB1 for the Cleveland Browns. Not by the coaches, but by the team's billionaire owner. Behind the scenes, insiders say arguments have erupted, draft decisions were manipulated, and ownership is overriding their staff, all to get one man on the field. And we haven't even touched the leaked Giants interview tape yet. Yeah, that one someone may have wanted buried for good. But here's the wild part. Every move to discredit Shedeur Sanders might have accidentally turned him into the most talked about quarterback in football. How did it all get this messy so quickly? Why is the NFL fan base taking sides? And what really happened in that cut? Draft interview with the Giants? ...
Guess is they go 0-4, maybe they go 1-3. Haslam's going to come down on Sunday, October 5th. And he says, I want Shedeur to play against Minnesota. And the staff's going to say, we're in London. It's rough. Just give us one more week. We don't want Shedeur having to go overseas. It's a big ask. And so they stave off the owner for a week. Flacco loses that game. I believe Shedeur starts Sunday, October 12th.
This isn't just a story about football. It's power, politics, secrets, and someone the league clearly didn't want to succeed. Nobody expected Shedeur Sanders to slide past the 3rd round, let alone all the way to the 5th. Heading into the draft, he was one of the most talked about names in college football. Elite accuracy, big game poise, famous bloodline. So what happened? That's where things get messy. According to insiders, his interview with the New York Giants may have torpedoed everything. Rumors suggest the meeting went horribly wrong. One so awkward that both the Browns and Sanders' family allegedly threatened legal action if the footage was ever released. The Giants eventually dropped a carefully clipped version of the footage, but refused to show the full interview. And that made things worse. Fans didn't buy it. If the narrative was true that Shedeur bombed the meeting, then why hide the full tape?
Jimmy Haslam, many believe, forced Andrew Berry and Stefanski to draft Shedeur Sanders. They drafted Dylan Gabriel probably a round or two early, hoping to get out of the Shedeur sweepstakes. So the question is, at some point, Haslam's going to come down and say, play Shedeur Sanders.
Whispers of media smearing, shady editing, and an agenda against Deion Sanders quickly spread online. But ironically, the move that was supposedly meant to bury him only made his story louder. Suddenly, Shedeur wasn't just a quarterback. He was a headline, a movement, and the NFL couldn't look away. Most rookies have to earn their snaps. But for Shedeur Sanders, it's ownership pulling strings, not just performance. According to reports, Cleveland Browns owner Jimmy Haslam isn't sitting back and letting the coaches decide who starts. He's actively pressuring head coach Kevin Stefanski to name Shedeur QB1, whether he's ready or not. Behind closed doors, insiders say Haslam forced the team's hand on draft night. Browns GM Andrew Berry allegedly picked Dylan Gabriel just 2 spots ahead of Sanders, a move many saw as a last-ditch effort to avoid the Shedeur sweepstakes. Didn't work.
Shedeur, we talk oftentimes about quarterback being the most important position in the sport. We obviously spent a lot of time with Shedeur throughout the process. He's highly accurate, can play well from the pocket, very productive college career. And
because Haslam didn't just want a quarterback, he wanted Shedeur. And now, he's making sure everyone in the organization knows it. The coaching staff? Yeah, they're hesitant. Stefanski reportedly wants to develop Shedeur slowly. Let him sit behind a veteran for at least a few games. But the leash is tightening. Haslam is known for putting the flash before the fundamentals. Baker Mayfield, Johnny Manziel. even Deshaun Watson, all headline QBs he personally backed. And now, Shedeur's entering that same pressure cooker. But what if this time, Haslam's gamble actually pays off? Because the evidence is starting to stack up fast. If there's one thing Cleveland's ownership loves more than winning, it's a quarterback that makes headlines. And Jimmy Haslam has made this mistake before, multiple times. Let's rewind. He went all in on Johnny Manziel, ignoring red flags simply because the media loved him.
You're drafted in the 4th round or later, you're instantly running with the 2s. More often than not, even the 3rd round or later, you're more likely running with the 2s. Though Shedeur is probably going to still be running with the 4s, the coaches suggested there's going to be a fair opportunity for everybody.
That ended in disaster. Then came Baker Mayfield, the controversial fire starter who lit up college football, but fizzled out under pressure. And then the biggest splash of all, Deshaun Watson, a fully guaranteed deal that cost the Browns massive draft capital and turned the team into a national lightning rod. Now it's Shedeur, a rookie with undeniable star power. But again, we're seeing the same pattern. The owner jumps the gun. The front office scrambles to keep up. The coaching staff keeps their fingers crossed. But here's the twist. Unlike his predecessors, Shedeur isn't spiraling off hype alone. Behind the social media attention and viral legacy is a kid who's actually putting in the work. The buzz might have gotten him through the door, but now it's his game that's keeping him in the conversation. And that brings us to the moment that flipped the entire perception of Shedeur Sanders. A quiet workout in Miami that would leave NFL veterans stunned.
Quarterback is always going to be looming in every conversation. So I think they're going to want to get those guys action, Gabriel and Sanders. I think they're going to want to have one veteran quarterback. I don't know if there's a value in having both of those veteran quarterbacks and then having 2 rookies on the roster as well.
No cameras, no press, no filters. Just Shedeur Sanders and a field full of NFL decision makers who weren't there to be impressed. They were there to prove he wasn't ready. It happened quietly in Miami. Not a stunt, not staged. Just a private, invite-only workout at a legendary facility where pros like Tom Brady have trained. Word spread fast. 15 NFL scouts, coaches, and former defensive coordinators, the kind who build entire careers on exposing flaws in young quarterbacks, were going to be there. Most expected to walk away unimpressed. What followed changed everything. First throw, a 40-yard laser, perfect spiral. Hits the receiver mid-stride. But that's expected. Second throw, a precise comeback route, released before the receiver even made his cut. Timing most NFL vets struggle with. A veteran scout literally dropped his clipboard. Then came the real test. The mock 2-minute drill. Down 6, no timeouts, 85 yards to go.
There was another team that he sat down with.
What do you mean it didn't go well after that?
So, he was pissed that they did that to him. They did that to
He
him.
counter confronted
The
them.
same thing they do to every other quarterback prospect. They did that to him. They slide in a mistake to see if you catch it.
Right. And so
Because you're the quarterback.
But he didn't take it as a correction. He took it as like he got
it's
pissed
just
off.
yeah, and it's like so here's another one. So another one was, he throws a bad interception, and it was a deep throw early in the game, and he comes back and they go in the meeting, they show
The defense disguised their coverage seconds before the snap, a setup that demolishes rookies. But Shedeur, he stepped up calmly, read the rotation, and delivered a strike through a window no rookie should dare to throw into. Pinpoint accuracy, pure confidence, silence on the field. By the time the drill ended, the skepticism in those scouts' faces was replaced with something they don't give out easily. Respect. This wasn't just a workout. It was a statement, and it shattered the narrative. Suddenly, Shedeur wasn't raw talent or just Deion Sanders' son. He was the guy people might have missed and now couldn't ignore. Before the draft, critics had Shedeur Sanders figured out, or so they thought.
GM is getting fired. The GM, who was that nigga that Jaden Daniels. The GM is on film that the nigga's son, the nigga asked his son last draft, yo, who you think I should pick? His son like, yo, you need to get the Jaden Daniels nigga, B. This is what his son, it's on tape. You should go Jaden Daniels. He laughing at his son. And all right, cool, get Jaden Daniels. I don't even know how that take got out. I wouldn't have let the shit get out.
They called him overconfident, labeled him as a coach's son who relied more on his name than his game. Teams whispered that he was uncoachable, too polished in front of cameras, and even too Hollywood. One bad interview clip with the Giants, and suddenly the narrative spread like wildfire. He wasn't just overlooked, he was targeted. But here's where the script flipped. While other rookies were soaking up headlines from draft night hype, Shedeur was already grinding quietly at OTAs, running with the fours, getting fewer reps than anyone on the depth chart. No complaints, no showboating, just work. And that silence? It didn't show weakness. It revealed discipline. The coaches started noticing. So did the vets. Calm in the huddle, fast decisions, laser focus. Not a hint of ego, just an edge you can't teach. Day by day, play by play, Shedeur was rewriting the story that scouts tried to box him into.
It's funny. New York Giants. Where these tapes at? You hear me? Because if Shedeur Sanders was so unprofessional, y'all would have leaked the tapes for the whole world to see, right? Because understand, it's a lot of he say, she say. But one thing I do know, as a young black man growing up in this world, being straightforward and not sugarcoat any.
Now, the same fans who doubted him, they're wearing his jersey. The media that once laughed at his slide can't stop talking about his rise. And those doubters in the Giants front office, well, they might have just created the very thing they were trying to avoid. Because now, Shedeur isn't viewed as the overhyped kid. He's the underdog who wasn't supposed to be here, but refused to be ignored. Before the Browns drafted Shedeur, there was buzz about his now infamous pre-draft meeting with the New York Giants. A meeting that, according to NFL insiders, went so badly that it derailed his draft stock, dropped him to round 5, and nearly caused a legal firestorm. Here's what we know. The Giants reportedly recorded all pre-draft interviews. Pretty standard. But when word leaked that Shedeur's session with them had gone off the rails, fans demanded the footage. What they got instead? A trimmed clip, edited vague and full of awkward pauses. Hours later, everything else was locked down tighter than top-secret government files. Even more suspicious? Shedeur's camp and the Browns allegedly threatened legal action if the full footage was ever aired. Meaning whatever happened in that room wasn't just awkward, it was serious. Online, it exploded. Fans accused the Giants of pulling a cheap PR stunt. Shedeur supporters called it a smear campaign, possibly aimed more at his father, Dion, than at Shedeur himself. It wasn't just about football anymore. It felt personal. And if the Giants truly had evidence that Shedeur blew the interview or acted unprofessional, wouldn't they have leaked it by now? Instead, they went quiet, radio silent. No statement, no defense, just locked doors and a bunch of accusations whispered behind the scenes. That silence, it speaks louder than a press conference. Because in today's NFL, the fastest way to make a prospect go viral is to try and erase him. Most quarterbacks picked in the 5th round don't make headlines. They don't get first-team reps, and more often than not, they quietly disappear into the background, hoping the right moment comes one day. Shedeur Sanders didn't wait. He walked into rookie camp knowing his name alone drew attention, but he never acted like it guaranteed a thing. Browns coaches started him with the 4s. No spotlight, no handouts, just early mornings, late nights, and a crowded quarterback room. Some days, he got fewer reps than the scout team. But you didn't hear him complain, not once. Instead, he doubled down on preparation, learned the playbook cold, and sharpened every throw. At OTAs, coaches started noticing something different. While some rookies looked rattled, Shedeur was calm in the chaos. Quick reads, tight spirals, smart audibles. taking command of the huddle like he'd been in the league for years. He wasn't there to develop slowly. He was there to compete. And now the staff is seeing it. Players are rallying behind him. Veterans are giving him props. Even the coaching staff, who once stood firm on giving him time, are now quietly admitting that he might be further ahead than anyone expected. This wasn't some PR moment orchestrated by ownership. This is the moment where performance started to match the hype. And as fans flood into open training sessions, there's only one name their chants echo: Shedeur. Kevin Stefanski is walking a tightrope, and everyone knows it. On one side, you have ownership, with Jimmy Haslam pulling hard for Shedeur Sanders to start. On the other, the coaching staff, who've publicly claimed they want a true competition, but have privately dragged their feet about giving Shedeur starting reps. Here's the problem. That leash is getting shorter by the day. Every snap Shedeur takes in practice seems to shift the mood. Reports say he's outperforming both Gabriel and the veterans during scrimmages. One anonymous source even claimed the coaching staff is starting to see what Haslam saw months ago. But Stefanski is in a tough spot. He wants to stick to player development, avoid rushing a rookie, and not cave to top-down pressure. But when your owner handpicks a quarterback and compares him to your last franchise stars, that's not a suggestion. It's a warning. Let's not forget, at least once before, Stefanski got overridden by Haslam on a quarterback decision. And that one didn't end well either. The writing's on the wall. Ownership wants to win, but they want to win their way. So here's the question. Does Stefanski resist the pressure, play it safe, and risk losing locker room momentum? Or does he give in, hand the ball to a rookie who's become a symbol of the future, and maybe save his own job in the process? Because at this point, the debate isn't about Shedeur's talent anymore. It's about who's really in charge. This isn't just a quarterback story anymore. Shedeur Sanders has become something bigger than football. A symbol of what happens when raw talent, relentless work ethic, and media pressure collide in the most dramatic way possible. Think about it. He was dismissed as a diva before he ever threw a pass. He faced whispers of entitlement, sabotage from front offices, and a public narrative that tried to spin him into the villain. And somehow, he flipped the entire conversation without saying a word. While other quarterbacks folded under scrutiny, Shedeur sharpened his game. While the Giants tried to bury a tape, Shedeur built a brand on performance. While ownership pushed, coaching staff hesitated, and doubters mocked. He just kept showing up, putting in the work, and slowly winning over a league that didn't want to admit it was wrong. Now, the Browns are at a crossroads. The coaching staff has a decision to make. And the rest of the NFL, they're watching closely. Because whether they admit it or not, everyone sees what's happening. The question is no longer, is Shedeur ready? It's, what happens if you can't stop him? What happens when a player you've dismissed becomes the story you can't avoid? And what happens when leadership doesn't come with a neon sign, but with a quiet confidence they can't defend against? Because one thing's become painfully clear. Whether Stefanski likes it, whether the Giants regret it, and whether the haters admit it, the Shedeur Sanders era isn't coming. It just started.